Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another episode here with your humble servant, JP. Very excited every time we're here to talk about things that matter, not just to me, but to a whole lot of creators out there. So, if you're all about content creation, well, I want to welcome you. This is the Content Creators University. Like you guys know how we do it is we welcome a professor, we call him, right? And today we have another professor, which is a geek just like me. He's all about tech. His name is Tom Buck. He'll be coming on stage soon to talk about content creation, a journey on how you can become a full-time content creator. Awesome conversations we're about to have today. So if you're watching this live, I want to welcome you to the show. Go ahead and put your comments and share your love in the comment section. For those of you that are watching on Roku, Fire TV, or my website, jphightek.com, I want to thank you for joining live. Very excited every time we do this show. But again, folks, I want to remind those of you who do not know, this show is sponsored as of right now by RTN Streams, and RTN Streams is an advanced live streaming encoding solution that will allow you to do phenomenal things if you want to take your eCam experience. For example, I am broadcasting with the eCam right now. If you want to take this, for example, and have your own TV station 24/7 uninterrupted live stream, or you want to build your own Roku application, Fire TV or OTT website, or you want to have a premium webinar, seminar, and have people sign premiumly and things like that, well, guess what? RTN Streams can do that. So far, I'm saying a lot. Let me go in there, run the ad, and we'll be right back. Let's go. That is nice. You saw in the ad that RTN Streams is offering any creator free overlays. So if you want some free high quality overlays, just like the one you're seeing in this video right here, go to rtnstreams.com, get yourself some, improve your visuals, your presentation, and make some money off of it, right? Because whenever you put your best foot forward in content creation universe, you understand that there's no makeup time. You have one opportunity to do it. And if you do it live, you got to seal the deal when you do that, all right? So before we bring our guests on stage, we got amazing lineup coming in this show in the next upcoming days. Yesterday, we had a phenomenal time here with a different guest. And today, we have another one tomorrow. What's going to happen? Well, it's going to be next week for the Content Creators University show. Who are those coming? Let me go ahead and show you real quick. So right here, as you can see, we have Elysia Way. Elysia Way will be joining us on May 18th. I want you to write it down, folks. It's going to be amazing. We'll be talking about behind the scenes, looking at some of his gear, how he has this dope studio setup, and also how can we make money with our content creation. Very cool conversation we're about to have with Elysia Way next week. So I want you to subscribe to this channel, share, and I want to see you there. Activate the bell icon so you don't miss any episode from this show, okay? Besides Elysia Way, we have our own one and only Felicia Alston that will be joining us on May 19th. The following day, which is again next week, we will be talking about tech gear. She has a phenomenal studio, amazing equipment, and we want to dive a little into her head and see why she has the things she has and why we should be purchasing it. Not every gear is for everyone, and what is the understanding, philosophy, and the pre-planned work behind all that. Really, really awesome things, and that we need to understand and know before we set up our studio, or even if we already have a studio, how we want to tweak it around to have the best experience, the best setup, the best visuals for our space, okay? So looking forward to that conversation there. Really, really excited. And we also have Doc Rock. Doc Rock will be joining the Content Creators University on the 26th. Very excited to see Doc Rock here. And Doc is a thinker, right? He's going to help us think outside the box. We're going to have some conversations. Is having too many gear a hindrance? Can that hurt you? Good conversation that we're going to have with Doc. Looking forward to that as well. And also we have Kirk Nugent that will be joining us. Kirk will be here on June 2nd. Awesome. Thanks. Kirk will be talking to us about the best way to overcome camera or stage fright, right? There are rituals to that, how to really go live or go on stage having the best you forward every single time. So the audience gets the best of you every time without them losing it, and you impacting, because you can go online, you can go on stage, or you can go in front of the camera and have zero impact. So how can we have that? We're about to talk about that with Kurt Nugent. Looking forward to that. All right, guys. We also will have the eCamp marketing director, Katie Fox, that will be joining us here as well on the show on June 9th. Very, very excited. ContentCreatorsUniversity.com is the website. Go ahead and check it out. Join the community. We have amazing things happening. But enough about all these folks. We have somebody on backstage eager to come here. I was having a chat with him. His name is Tom Buck, and Tom Buck loves tech. And Tom Buck decided to go full time. He was a teacher. He's now a full-time content creator now. What does that even mean? What does that mean to be a full-time content creator? Well, he's going to talk to us about it right after this ad. Let's go. All right, folks. We're about to bring Tom onto the stage. Before that, let me give a shout out to the folks that are commenting live. I got Heather. Hey, Heather, how you doing? Nice to see you in the comment section. Yeah, you better know that guy, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to Tom's channel. Check out who Heather is. It's good to create that mystery there so you can understand. And of course, I have my friend Steve. Steve, how you doing? Very, very happy to see you in the comment section. So, Tom, welcome to the show. Very happy that you decided to join the Content Creators University. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm good. It's really awesome to be here. Thanks for having me. This is like a super high level production, and I feel slightly insecure. I feel like I need to level everything up just a little bit.
Not a problem. I appreciate that. That's a good compliment coming from a brother creator and expert in all things tech, right? Really, really love the things you do over there on Tom Buck platform, your YouTube channel, and every time you release something, it has like a nice flair of life into it, and the approach you put on your creation is just refreshing, which is the reason why we decided to invite you on this platform, because hey, like I said, you are the professor today. You're going to teach us some things, and
Thank you.
we want to learn from you, Con. So first
Very
question is,
kind.
for those of us that do not know you, would you please introduce yourself to them?
Yeah, sure. My name is Tom Buck, obviously. I was a high school digital media teacher for about 11 years, and just this past March, so 2 months almost exactly, I made the leap to go full-time content creator. And that wasn't a quick decision, but basically I had started building a YouTube channel about 4 years ago, and I didn't intend that to be a business or anything, but it's sort of I accidentally built a business, and my
Mm-hmm.
channel really focuses on helping people, to level up their audio and video skills, really focusing on like the areas of podcasting and streaming and kind of like one person production teams type stuff, kind of like what you're doing right now, where something that would have taken a whole crew just a few years ago, you can do with one person now and have it look and sound amazing. And I love that stuff. And the past year's been rough, but it's really proven how powerful that kind of stuff can be. And
Right.
that's just in line with what I love. So that's pretty much what I do now full time.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we're about to dive deep into that just shortly. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. Well, one thing that, is misunderstood, at least humbly, based on my experience, is content creation, right? Because you just mentioned you became full-time content creator in this era that we live today. I mean, what is content a content creator today? Because we have YouTuber, we have cinematographers, and then we have now content creators. Is it different? Is it the same? What's your intake on that?
That's sort of a loaded question. For the longest time, I hated the word content creator because content is just such a like, you're trying to do something creative and you're trying to put yourself into it, and it's like, what are you making? I make content, and it just feels like you're feeding like a machine, and it doesn't care what you're putting into it. It's just content, but there's really no other simple word to put into it because it's really like it's anything. For me, it's mainly YouTube. That's my main platform, because I love that platform. I've learned and grown so much from that platform, and I love that YouTube lets you have a library and a collection of work that's searchable and people can stumble across it. But it's also, content is podcasting and streaming,
Right.
basically creating digital media and sharing it with the world in some way, I guess, is like the easiest way to do it. But I'm still kind of uneasy whenever I hear the word content because it's like I want to make something more than just content, but it
Right.
works.
But why do you think that it has become such a popular term today? Because I mean, it didn't used to be that popular. But in your humble opinion, why is it that so many people now are looking and investing into creating content? Again, like you just mentioned, content is not just video, is audio as well. And podcasting is so popular now. We have all kinds of podcasts, and everybody, investing a lot of money into it. Where do you think that came from?
I think it came from how everything basically became democratized over the last 10 years or so. I have on my desk right here, I have an old Sony Handycam, which is like the 8 millimeter camera that I kind of grew up with. And it was kind of, for the longest time, it was like you had that, or you worked your way onto a film set or a TV station or
Right.
something where you had access to really high level gear that you could never hope to actually like own or anything. And then, over the past 10, 13 years or so, it's like that's the barrier to entry just kept decreasing. Before the show, you were mentioning, using a Red camera and working professionally in the industry. And it's like, I remember when Red first was introduced and it was like, wow,
Right.
even at something like $50,000, that was so much more attainable than like a Panavision camera or something would have
Right.
been. And then beyond that, then you have DSLRs, and suddenly everything was just it's so much more accessible now for people to make stuff that's of a high quality. It doesn't look like you're sitting there with your handy cam, like trying to make a home movie. It looks like you're in a studio, and it sounds like you're in a
Right.
studio, and you have everybody has access to that stuff, and it's relatively affordable, and it's easy enough to use. And I think that that's a bug that just bites people. And once people see other normal people doing that, it's really hard to ignore that. And if you have that itch, it's just going to keep burning until you decide to chase after it. And I think that's a big reason why it's taken off, is just how accessible everything's become.
Right, and you're right because we're doing things like on this show, like you just mentioned, we're doing all this without a crew behind. Right, it's just me in my studio, just you right there in your studio. That's it. This entire production is just two people on the interview going live on the web, which is
Hmm.
phenomenal because this type of things, me have with my background cinematography, you will spend a lot of money just to have half of this, the gear, even connecting to the internet now, and having the fiber optic is costing almost nothing now, which is amazing. So a lot of people are seeing that opportunity, and I believe they're trying to jump on it, or the curiosity is there, right? Like, I believe a lot of people are curious. They're like, you know what? Let me see what I can do with this availability that I have, right? Like, it's
Hmm.
easy now. Where I remember whenever we used to have be able to go live on Facebook Live. Remember when Facebook Live was first announced?
Yeah.
It was for special people, I used to call them, right? Like the public
Yes.
figures, and that created the fear of the unknown. Everybody's like, "Goodness, I really want to have that," and now nobody's even talking about that anymore. Everybody's talking about how you can use your DSLR as your webcam just to do basic Zoom chat, right?
Hmm.
Zoom
Yep.
meetings. And I wanted to ask you about that because you mentioned in one of your videos that I watch on your channel when you used to do both, right? Like you used to produce content and teach at the same time, but you will use the
Hmm.
same equipment that you use on your videos and use that to teach. Okay, how well I love that, but how was that experience? Like how did they like that? You want to
I
share
mean,
that?
that was so fun because that's just kind of me. Like I always I'm not around high school kids anymore, so I don't have like all the slang, but I like to be extra, as the students used to say. And I
Right.
don't know, like it's just if you're asking me to use a camera, I'm not going to use the built-in web camera. Like, are you kidding me? I have all this stuff. I'm going to find a way to use that. And thinking of my students, they had 7 other classes where teachers were mainly teaching off of a Chromebook
Right.
and in a badly lit room with terrible audio, and I was like, "You can come into my class and we can have it look and feel totally different." Plus, I mean, I was the media teacher, like, I felt like I couldn't have a crummy looking setup and and be like, "I'm here to teach you digital
No
media,"
pressure,
and
right?
be in a dark corner somewhere, so it was kind of like proving, like, "Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. You should listen to me."
Right.
But it was really fun, and it's such a cool way. One of my favorite things about teaching, especially like high school kids, is sparking their curiosity, because you can do something like it can look cool to have your microphone on screen, but what I used to like to do is switch out my microphone regularly, and then some kids would ask like, "Wait, what about this one? What's that one? Why does this one sound that way?" And it's like if I sat there and said, "Hey, today I'm going to tell you about condenser versus dynamic microphones," they would just leave because who
Right.
cares? But if they're looking at like that microphone looks this way and sounds this way and that, like if they're the ones asking the questions, it's so easy to teach them because they've already asked, and just by showing them different things, they don't know what they don't know. So, just sharing that stuff is what sparked curiosity, and then I'm excited about it, they're excited about it, and the rest is easy after that.
Right. And you just entice and start that conversation because I believe that's where success comes in, right? When we're talking about creating content, where it is important not just to create the content, but to create it to start a conversation.
Mhm.
Because you need to start something, sparkle something, right? So
Yeah.
that people kind of connect with that, and that starts the success of what you created. Because I mean, you can talk about the same microphone, right? That I will talk about, but what will separate your content of talking about the same
Mhm.
product I'm talking about is the flavor that you're adding to your presentation in
Yeah.
order to connect with people.
Yeah, exactly. That's always a thing too, because, if you have a YouTube channel, especially if it's based around any kind of product review, whatever, there's always a thing of like, oh, someone already did that review, someone already did this. I have, Heather and I run a YouTube mastermind. Sometimes people will say like, I want to make this video, but someone already made it. And it's like, it's not about that. It's about your thing. Even just today, like somebody was asking, "Are you going to do a review on this certain camera?" And I was like, "I don't think so. I haven't really done camera reviews lately, and they don't do that well." And he was like, "Oh, that's a bummer. I like the way you do them." And I was like, "Oh, I should do that video then." But there's so many different things about you. And I going back to teaching, I always think of like a typical high school will have 4 or 5 10th grade English teachers. They're all teaching the same thing from the same book,
Right.
that students are gonna have they're gonna hate this teacher and love this teacher and not learn here, but learn here. It's all the exact same content, but the different person is making it accessible or inaccessible in a different way. And, we've all had that experience in school, and it's the same thing on a platform like YouTube where, sure, there can be a bunch of people talking about microphones or cameras or tech or whatever, but it's the way that they do it that's going to either draw people in or push other people away, and that's how you find your people.
Very true, very true, and I like the way you put it there. You can create your content, and whether you think you can create pretty much, how do I say it? You can create a positive or negative engagement
Yeah.
depending on your presentation. So I like that. I like that. So Tom, what happened? You announced that you became full-time content creator. I want to understand why and I mean, because the other people will be
Yeah, I
like,
got
you
so
have the
tired of
job
having health
security.
insurance and retirement. I was like, "Who needs these things?"
I
YouTube.
mean,
That's the place
why?
to go.
I know,
I mean,
right?
it's a crazy thing. I did a whole podcast, series, which was Heather's idea, my wife Heather, to
Hmm.
document this thing. So if you want, like, the actual thought process of going through this is documented across, like, 5 or 6 episodes, but the
Awesome.
long and short of it is I was getting burnt out. Like, I loved my job, I had a good position, teaching is hard, public education is kind of broken in a lot of ways, and
Hmm.
I've been doing it for 11 years, and I was starting to think of, do I wanna do this for 25 more years? And the answer was no. So what do I do? And I had been building up this YouTube channel, which started to generate revenue and started to build
Hmm.
an audience, and it was like, "This could actually be something." And coincidentally, just over the past year, it got to the point where, like, YouTube revenue was equaling and was getting close to, then equaling, and then surpassing my teacher salary. I was like, "Okay, so there's something there in terms of, like,
Hmm.
actual sustainability." And, the security's not there, but the exhaustion I was facing, the anxiety, the, like,
Right.
types of depression of just it was the point of you could live your life your own way on your own terms.
Hmm.
You could impact even more people because it's the internet, so it's the whole earth. And then it was just like if I didn't take the opportunity in 10 years, I would regret it. And I can go back and get a teaching job, they're not terribly hard to find at this point, but going back and having the
Right.
opportunity
With your
to do things
background, I'm
your
sure.
way and live your own life, that's something that's not gonna pop up again, and you can't fix regret, and I didn't wanna live with that, so that's kinda ultimately what decided to, like, push in, make the leap, and go for it.
Well, I like this comment that we just got from Roberto. Say you are still teaching YouTube University.
That's what a
Hey,
lot
that's
of
so
people said to
true.
make me feel better. They were like,
He's
"You're
still
still
teaching.
teaching, it's just different." I'm like, "Yeah," and I mean, in a way, it's even it's cool, like, it's people who are actively choosing to learn from you,
Right.
and it's fun, it's different, it's amazing.
I like that. But okay, so how does one though? How does one transition? Because I mean, a lot of people are where you used to be and
Mhm.
want to be where you are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does one? Would you just tell them to just drop it and go for it, or what would be your expert advice on how
It's
to transition
really
to that?
tough. So, I think everybody's journey is gonna be different, obviously, so I don't wanna speak I can only speak for myself.
Right.
But what I can say is what I wouldn't do, at least, is quit my job and then start a YouTube channel, because that oh my gosh. But I started my channel 4 years ago just as a way for me to do something creative and to focus on something outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just grew. Like, it was not to make money. It was not to become my full-time job. It's because I was just sharing stuff I was excited about. And that's important because that makes it sustainable. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
something you don't want to make like, I made my 10 YouTube videos. Like, you want to be able to make hundreds over the course of many years. And,
Right.
that you can't be doing that if you're only chasing the dollar signs. And so I had just been doing that, not really realizing what I was doing. And um, eventually it hit the point probably about a year and a half ago where both things, teaching and YouTube, were taking about the same amount of time. So then it was like 2 full-time
Mm-hmm.
jobs. And that was where I knew I had to make a decision. And so that's kind of where you could find yourself is like, okay, I'm putting a ton of time into my own thing, putting a ton of time into my day job. Um, that's not sustainable. So something has to give. And for me, it was like you have security and stability with the day job, but you
Right.
have creative control and passion with the side thing. And those things are both very important, but I knew that I was not gonna give up my own thing. I was not gonna give up my own thing to go work for somebody else where all it takes is one change of administration, one change in management to just wipe everything away and
Right.
nobody cares, and whereas this is mine and I'm in control of it and I can do it how I want, and so once I realized that, it was a matter of, okay, what does that look like? And then, like this is like uh soft skills 101, but it was about communicating and letting people know, like giving lots of notice and being very open and clear about what's
Right.
happening. So that way, it wasn't just like, peace out, I'm a YouTuber now, but you can help transition
Slowly.
somebody into the position and that kind of stuff. And I ended up my timeline moved up and I ended up leaving quicker than I expected to, but um still, working and being on good terms with everyone was a big deal. So that way it's like not so much, my job's not there anymore. Like I couldn't go back to it, but everyone was excited for me and happy for me and not
Hmm.
like cursing me as I walked out of the room. So those kinds of things I think are very important, and making that decision of, I had kind of gotten to the point with my channel where it wasn't just that it was making the same amount or more than my day job, but it was like, let's do this for a few months and let's
Right.
see like if that's sustainable. So I started taking my paycheck that was coming in from teaching and just putting it into a savings account, not even touching it, and then living off of the YouTube, not YouTube revenue, but all the things around that.
Right.
And seeing if I could actually do that. And after a couple months, you're like, hey, uh, we still have our house, we still have groceries, we're still like have the electricity
Mortgage
turned
and
on.
everything, right?
Yeah, and once it's kinda like proof of concept, then I
Hmm.
felt a little safer in going like, "Okay, um, I think we could do this now."
Well, would you say that you were at a sort of advantageous position knowing your background as a professional in media and taking that passion into YouTube, which we know YouTube is all media and all visuals. So would you say you had an advantage on, sorry about that, I have my phone ringing, that's what happens live. Let me turn it
I
up real
think I
quick.
mean, yeah, I think there is, and it's probably not. My wife calls it sometimes the curse of knowledge, where I'm just doing what I do, but, I know that there's a lot of people out there who are like, "Yeah, I wanna start YouTube, but what camera do I get?" Whereas I was like,
Right.
"I have all the gear, what do I make a YouTube channel about?" was, like, kinda my problem. And yeah, so I think that was definitely advantageous because it just, you know, getting in front of the camera when I started my channel was very hard.
That was
Editing
my next
myself
question
was
because I was going to
weird.
ask you.
Yeah, super uncomfortable. Not my favorite thing to do, but then you get over it. And, it was like I knew that if I was the person in front of the camera, I could make more videos because I didn't have to rely on somebody else. So that was kind of why that happened, was like I can control my schedule and make videos whenever I want. And yes, I mean I do think there was definitely an advantage there.
So you will say, in your professional opinion, that there is a way to actually make a sustainable income being a
Oh yeah.
full-time content creator. Yeah, it's not a dream.
Absolutely
It's
there
not
is, and this
far-fetched,
is,
or
I keep referencing my wife Heather, but she's a big part of my life, so I'll continue to do that. She just did a video on her channel, youtube.com/Heather Just Create, where it's sort of her journey on YouTube over the past 5 years because she has a channel as well. But at the end of it, she dives into this idea of like where things are now, which essentially is this concept of the passion economy where it's not, I don't wanna misstate anything, but it's not so much about having the biggest audience and the most people and any of that. It's about how much you can connect with your people, and it can be a shockingly small number. It doesn't need to be 10 million. It doesn't need to be 1 million, 100,000. Like I went full time. My channel was in the 50,000s. I think I probably honestly could have done it at like 25,000.
right?
Probably would have been able to do it. And that's, when you're starting a YouTube channel, 25,000 feels like a very big number. But it is attainable. And, I think that with anybody who consistently puts in the effort and stuff, you can get to that point, and it's like, I mean, that is attainable, and it's something that just didn't exist. It wasn't an option even 5 years ago, and now it is. Like, you can find a core group of people that love what you do. Not only will they wanna support you, but they'll support you again and again. So when you come out with a course, they'll wanna take it. When you come out with a live stream, they'll wanna super chat. When you have merch, they'll buy it. Like, and it's not that you're milking this audience, but it's that they're just into it, and, you don't
Well,
need 10 million people.
what about the folks that will tell you, well, I've been publishing on YouTube, right, for 10 years.
Mhm.
and nothing is happening. Because when while you keep explaining, I heard you repeat something that is important, is commitment, right? You gotta be
Yeah.
committed to it. Would you say that was the key? And if it is, then how do you commit to this altogether?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it is the key, having a commitment there. It's tough and it's scary, and I always feel like I'm gonna, jinx myself by so knock on wood, everything I say, but I feel like, there have been YouTube channels that I follow where they just sort of hit a point and then they never grow from that. They just sort of whoop, stop. And I've also seen channels that like have hundreds and hundreds of videos and 10 subscribers. Like, what is happening? And I think in each of those cases, I can pinpoint what it is. Like you can find a change in the channel that cause it to stop growing. You can find something about the person that's continuously uploading without seeing growth. You can I mean, sometimes like legitimately you're just like, these are bad videos. And
Right.
it's not just that you're uploading video, these are bad. And it's we all make videos that, especially your early videos might be a little rough or whatever, but I've seen videos that are just bad. And sometimes you need to be honest with yourself and go like, yeah, if you just want to do this as a personal endeavor, that doesn't matter. Just creating something, putting it out there has value. But if you want to grow and you want to build an audience, what would somebody get out of this? And sometimes you have to be honest and go like, I don't think anybody would actually get anything out of this. And so it comes down to, yeah, you're putting something out there that is geared towards it's geared towards other people and it's geared towards helping them, solving a problem, teaching them about something, and you just do that over and over again. So it has to be something you're excited about, so you can keep talking about it over and over again, and and adjusting and evolving along the way. But I don't think there's any shortcut as far as that goes.
So how did you do yours in your particular example, like for your channel? How did you like commit? Like did you have like a weekly schedule? Did you announce it in your videos? What was your recipe, so to speak? Like what did you do?
Yeah. I can probably give you some I can probably save people some pain that I went through. I waited too long to have strategy because I was like, when I started my channel, I was like, this isn't gonna be monetized. This is gonna be pure and like whatever. And yeah, those things are important, but you can also make money. You can also be a little strategic with what you're doing. So it took me like probably over a year before I was like, maybe I should actually look at my analytics. Maybe I should pay attention to an affiliate link or something. So don't wait to do that kind of stuff. Don't get hung up on it right away. But basically, I just started making videos for fun because for me, it was such a big part of like, I need to learn how to express myself in this way. I was used to making videos for other people. I was used to like client type stuff. I was used to helping people make videos, but I was not used to putting myself in front of the camera and sharing what I had to say. That was totally like a different language. And so there was a huge chunk of time just learning that. I ended up doing a 30-day upload challenge like right away. So I had made like 5 or 6 videos and I had 30 videos in 30 days, which was nuts.
Wow.
But I learned a lot in that. And I started on the last day of summer vacation one year. So it was like also like the busiest time of year. I don't know how I survived that, but I learned a lot from that. And then from there, I kind of found what worked. Like I was more comfortable in front of the camera. I found that of those 30 videos, the ones that taught people how to do something did better. So, okay, cool. Like I could tutorials, reviews, that kind of stuff is good. And then I just figured out what I was interested in. Like, I did some 3D printing videos and those did really well. And then I made like 8 videos and I was like, I don't know anything else about 3D printing. And people kept coming in going like more 3D printing stuff. And I was like, I'm done. I don't know anything else about it. And I realized, okay, don't do any more of those videos because people are going to expect more and you can't give that to them. I can talk more about AV production. So let's go more towards that. And I'm kind of figuring out, where to go. And then over the past year, it's just sort of you make stuff and it does well and it doesn't do well. And it's not that you need to be a slave to your analytics, but you see what people need help with and you see what people respond to. And if people respond to something and it's also something that you enjoy, go down that path. So, I've
Right.
leaned heavily towards like audio and live streaming stuff lately, which is not what I would have expected. but it's really fun and I really like it and people seem to be getting a lot out of it. So like, cool. But it's not what I would
Well,
have
that's the
planned
key,
originally.
right? That's the
Yeah.
key, right? Like you said, even though it's about people, like you said, but always make sure that you enjoy wherever all that the path is leading you to, right? Like, don't just
Hmm.
forget about who you are, your interests, your love to start something that you know you may not see yourself doing the next 5 years, for example. Would you say
Hmm.
that is also something that, like to think about and be careful? Because unless you enjoy, you cannot continue doing, right? Because
Yeah.
the thing is that a lot of people are getting into this now, just to, like a job. Would you say
Yeah.
it's better not to look at it like another job, but to look at it like, passion that may pay you a lot, like later, down the road?
Yeah, ideally, if possible. I mean, everyone's in different circumstances. So if somebody's in a really terrible position and this is like their way out, they're gonna grab onto anything. But in a situation like I was in, I could have probably left earlier if I took every brand opportunity and every monetization chance. But then it's like you
Mm-hmm.
are just doing client work at that point where you're not even in charge of your channel and you're making stuff
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, I have to make a video about this thing because they're paying me to and I don't even want to." And then you put it out and people don't even care about it. I have to talk about this service that I don't even use, but they're paying me for. And it's like at that point you just have a lower paying job than you already had. Like if I'm going to get paid to do something that other people tell me to do, like I'll just keep my job with health insurance and benefits and stuff. If I'm going to do this, it's going to be my way and on my
Right.
terms. And that's if I'm going to put that risk and take that leap, there's going to be that benefit of, okay, cool, but it's on my terms. And that's something I can't get anywhere else. So yeah, very, very important to keep yourself, keep true to yourself, throughout
Not
the whole
lose
process.
yourself in it, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you know what that is. Like there's a thing we always say there's a thing that like you won't shut up about. Your friends are tired of
Mm-hmm.
hearing about it. Your partner's tired of hearing about it. That's the thing that you should make a channel about or have a podcast about or whatever because clearly you're obsessed with it.
Right. Oh, cool, cool. So here in the Content Creators University, one thing that we love talking about, of course, is tech, right? So tech, obviously, we need
Mhm.
tech to do the things that we got to do today. We're using tech to broadcast all this, and you are all about tech on your channel. So who better? Who better to talk about it than Tom
Sure.
Buck, right? So you have crisp videos, man, like awesome stuff. You have a lot of videos on lighting, on your camera, and now audio.
Mhm.
And one thing that you use, which is a common denominator between you and me, is Ecamm.
Yeah.
How did you end up with discovering about Ecamm, and why do you like it so much?
Sure. I really became a huge fan of a photography channel from a guy named Peter Gregg a couple years ago. He's based in Miami, Florida. He's in his late 60s. He's like the opposite of what you would expect from typical YouTuber. His whole set is Christmas all the
Oh
time.
wow. Oh wow.
And I discovered him in December one year, so I was like, "Yeah, this makes sense." And then I was like watching videos in July, and I was like, "Still Christmas," but I was like, "I love this. This is amazing." And he does a ton of live streaming, and he uses Ecamm, and it's like he has since he's a photo channel, he has like 4 different cameras set up with different lenses, so he keeps switching between them, so you can see the different quality and all the stuff, and I was like, "How is he doing this?" And then
Nice.
he was explaining he did the, like, backstage mode or demo mode where you can show all of Ecamm's windows, and I was like, "What is that?" I had been struggling with, like, OBS and stuff, and then, I just jumped into Ecamm, and it's such an incredible tool, and then when you learn how you can customize it, and then Heather, my wife, jumped into it, and now her entire workflow is Ecamm. I use it for Zoom. I'm using it right now, and obviously you're using it right now. Um, but she uses it for like recording her videos. She doesn't even open her memory card door on her camera anymore ever. Like it's all just Ecamm, and it's like what I have found is it's one of those things where if you have an idea, there's a way to do it. And I love tools like that where I'm not limited by them. I
Mm-hmm.
can I might have to struggle to figure out what I'm doing and how to do it a certain way, but Ecamm has no ceiling. Like whatever you want to do, there's a way to figure it out, or there's like someone in the community that has figured it out, and you can get help from them. And it's like you get this great tool, you get this great
Right.
community of it's so much fun. I love Ecamm. You should buy
So,
a Mac just to get Ecamm if you don't have it.
exactly. Hey guys, if you're looking for eCam, look in the video description. Go ahead and grab yourself a 15-day free trial. Check it out. It's free. Hey, you'll enjoy it. All right.
Yeah,
So,
you can't go wrong. It's the
you
best.
can't go wrong. Like if you're a Mac user, of course. Let's not forget that,
Yeah.
right? Ecamm, as of the recording of this video, this live stream today is only on Mac as of right now. We don't know the future, but right now it's Mac only. Talking about that, I saw videos of you about your M1 and your
Yep.
cameras, and going from one camera to two camera. How many cameras do you have today, Tom?
Yeah, so I have three like high quality, nice, legit cameras, and then I've got like my GoPros. I mean, like here, I think I can go boop. Like here's my
There we go.
GoPro camera over here. I've got like, I've got my handy cam, which is actually hooked up to the ATEM. Sorry, this is blue screen. I apologize. Look at this. It's like we're in the 90s. There's my Sony A7S III being filmed through a Sony Handycam because that is super unnecessary, but that's what I'm going to do right now. I have a lot of cameras. My three main ones as of last week are two Canon EOS Rs and a Sony A7S III
Now go ahead and
that I love.
show again the behind the scenes with your GoPro, and explain to us how you set that up, because I mean those are awesome things that our students will love to understand. So look at that shot.
Sure, yeah, yeah. So this is just a GoPro stuck up on a pole, and connected to my ATEM Extreme, which is right here. And that's kind of basically where everything is. And then I've got like, I usually when I'm doing streaming, I have my main camera here, and then I have one of the EOS Rs hooked up to a wireless unit. Um, which actually it's turned off right now. And this is oftentimes if I'm doing classes or consultations, I can show people stuff using the wireless unit. Um,
Okay.
if it kicks in at all. But anyway, it's kind of cool because it's like they're in the room with you, and you can point to stuff and you can show them different things. I think my wireless battery died. Oh, it did. So I won't be showing you that right now. But
That's
anyway,
fine.
video coming out all about that tomorrow. But that's awesome when you're teaching remotely to have, doesn't have to be wireless, but a camera that you can move around and show people
Right.
things so you can really like get up in there. I love that. Um,
But
and when
how
I
are
do my
you?
regular videos, I have an A camera, a B camera, and a C camera.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I know it's ridiculous. Sometimes an overhead camera.
I know, right? But how are you connecting your GoPro? Like, is it wireless or what are you
No, it's just got a
using?
long cable that's running down. Everything's going into the ATEM Extreme right here, so you can kind of see there's a mess of cables back here, and there's a long one that's running into the GoPro, and that's it. Very low tech.
But what are you using to mount it? Like, up there.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, if I had my wireless camera, I could show you. It's you know what? I know this is your high quality show, but here is the Sony Handycam.
you're
So it's
fine.
up there. This quality is ridiculous. It's just on a clamp and the GoPro Jaws clamp, which is relatively affordable. It's like $20 or $30, and it's just stuck to a C stand. Um,
Okay.
and that's what's up there. Sometimes I'll move it around. I do a lot of like calls and consultations about the Rodecaster Pro, which is a piece of gear I use a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll take the GoPro and mount it over the Rodecaster so that I can switch to it and then show people like the menu settings and stuff as we're going through it.
Well, let's talk about your A10 Mini, because we
Yeah.
did receive a lot of questions about it. Like what will be your intake between, if you were to choose between the Stream Deck and the A10 Mini? Not that we're sponsored by anything like that. We're just talking about
Yeah.
products that might help. Would you say how can you explain the difference between the Stream Deck and the A10 Mini?
Yeah, I get that question a lot actually. And the biggest difference is number of inputs because the Stream Deck is an amazing tool, super affordable, and a great, like if you have Ecamm, you might as well get a Stream Deck because then you can have your physical buttons to switch between everything.
Right.
But the Stream Deck's not going to give you more inputs. So the ATEM by itself is a capture card, but the one I'm using, the Extreme ISO, has 8 HDMI inputs. So that's like, to use this old camera, I just bought a very cheap, I think it was $20 on Amazon, a little um, RCA to HDMI adapter, and that's
Mm-hmm.
all that connects this into the ATEM. And obviously, all the other like higher end cameras and GoPros and stuff can go in there. You can connect computers to it. So if I'm ever doing like keynote presentations, I'll have like a
Right.
computer, like a MacBook, running the presentation into the ATEM. Ecamm can make the ATEM a little bit redundant because you can do so much with scenes and different shots and stuff
Mm-hmm.
in Ecamm. But I have found that the ATEM plus Ecamm is like the sky is the absolute limit with what you can do, and it's very, very fun.
So you wouldn't recommend somebody like using both simultaneously, like the
Uh,
ATEM and the Stream Deck, or you think that's overkill?
oh no, I've done it. It's not overkill at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because the ATEM will switch between your sources. So like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing right now, I can show you my GoPro and I can show you my main set, but
Right.
Ecamm is just going to see the whole ATEM as one single source.
Source.
So then in ATEM, that's where we can throw on like the amazing graphics that you have, the overlays. I could play a video. I could have my different scenes set up. I could have Ecamm automatically going between those scenes. You can take even one shot. I think I have it, and I hope this won't mess it up. But this is one camera, and then I have a separate thing that like kind of punches in a little bit, almost as a second
Oh,
camera
nice.
shot,
Yeah.
even though it's one
Yep.
camera.
Yes.
You can do all that through Ecamm, and then the Stream Deck could also be there as your physical buttons to activate that stuff, because physical buttons are really helpful. You don't want to during your stream to then have to like squint and click on something. It doesn't look that
Right.
great, and you can program it to your keyboard, but then you're looking down. When you have a big illuminated button in front of you, you don't even need to look away, and you can go like, hey, yeah, look, this is my GoPro setup, it's amazing, cool, now check out my regular shot. And I didn't have to take my eyes off the camera to do any of that. So
Right.
they can all play together. I don't want anyone to think like you have to buy all this stuff to be decent, but if you want to play with all that stuff, it all goes together great.
Okay, perfect. Because I mean, a lot of people are wondering, do I need both? Do I need just the ATEM, or can
Yeah, do you
the Stream Deck
need? No,
be
you
an
don't need,
ATEM?
but you can have, like I always honestly tell people like just start with whatever you have. If you got this
Mm-hmm.
old handy cam, start with that. Like whatever you got, and then upgrade as your own workflow will emerge, and you'll kind of discover like I need a ton of cameras. Cool, you should get an ATEM. If you're only ever using one camera but you want a ton of graphics, well, Ecamm makes a lot more sense. If you want a ton of cameras and a ton of graphics, then they both make sense. Like, it
Right.
depends on what you need for what you're trying to do.
So you're using pretty much the ATEM as a capture card.
Yeah,
Like
basically.
because you can use the ATEM to actually do on-set live broadcasting, and it has all the functionalities, but you're not using all of that. Primarily, you're using it as a multi-source capture
Hmm.
card to bring in multiple camera sources, which will
Yeah.
offload that from your CPU. Because whenever you have like your Camlink 4K and you want to do what you're doing, then you're gonna need like four Camlink 4Ks for four cameras.
Yeah.
But with the ATEM with multiple sources, then one capture card, multiple sources for different cameras. Then
Yeah.
you use your Stream Deck to control your graphics, like I'm doing right now without looking down. And
Yeah.
that's what you have. Will that be correct?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Perfect.
Trying to understand what you have. Now, let's talk about audio. Your audio setup real quick, right?
Mhm.
You made a video about your Rodecaster Pro and multiple microphones. Now, I'm gonna ask you, Tom, why you keep buying microphones?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a problem that I have now. Rode sent me this one, so I didn't buy this, but
Oh,
this is the
good.
NT1. I just got really into microphones for some reason. I've always liked them. And then
Right.
it just turns out that microphone videos on my channel do really well. So if I do like a microphone review or this
Mm-hmm.
microphone versus that one, for some reason they tend to do well. And I like to do them. So I just keep doing them. And then every time I get a new mic, I'm like, what about this one? And then a new mic comes out. I've been recently getting into these old Shure mics. which
Right.
actually this mic is brand new, the Super 55 on top, but it's the classic style. But the base that I got for it, I had to go on eBay and find
Oh
this
boy.
base from the 1950s, which is a Shure base. Who knows where this thing has been? And then you got like I love I don't it's just so cool. I just love this setup. I love how different microphones can make things feel different. It feels different to use them. It feels different to
Mm-hmm.
listen to them. Some of them are good at one thing and bad at another thing. And like, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing to have as like a hobby. Like microphones are my hobby, but I don't know.
That's an
Like the last
expensive
year, I've just
hobby, right?
become super excited about mics. I don't
But
know.
what would you say, somebody that, okay, is looking for a really, really good microphone that will use it for two reasons, both to be going live and also to be recording podcasts, because you do have experience with podcasting,
Mhm.
that you do. So,
Yeah.
which microphone would you recommend and why, or what would be your intake on that?
That's always a tough question, so I'm going to speak broadly, but I'm actually going to give a few options. So, depending on that person's budget, if you have something like it like this, like an XLR microphone, then you need an interface or a mixer to run it into, so that's more
Mm-hmm.
money on top of it. But that's going to open up a whole world of opportunity for you. So, if you don't mind doing that, I have the Rode Pod mic. If you watch my channel, you know that I really love the Pod mics. These are usually about $100 usually,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that it's the best mic in the world, but for the price and for what it can do, it's a really solid choice. If you have more of a budget, obviously something like the Shure SM7B is a classic, and
Right.
it's almost like ridiculously popular these days, but it is one of those mics that's like pretty much everybody's going to sound pretty decent on the SM7B.
Right.
Um, but if you don't want to run that route with like interfaces and mixers, then there's USB mics out there, and there's a lot of great choices. Like I know you had India Delgado on here a while ago, and she
Mm-hmm.
was using the Shure MV7. That
Which
sounded
sounded
great. That looked
fantastic.
great. Yeah, and that's USB and XLR. There's the
Right.
Samson Q9U. I think I have mine on my back wall over here.
Oh, there it
There's
is.
the Samson and then the Shure, and Pod mic and stuff. So the Samson's a great choice too that has USB and XLR. Um, and that can be a great place to start is a mic that does both because you get the mic, plug in the USB, and you're done. You can stream, you can podcast, and then since it has XLR later on, if you get an interface or a mixer, you can use your same mic with it and then grow with it as time goes on.
Well, what about the
That was a long answer,
Rodecaster
but I think that
Pro?
was an answer.
You're fine. What about the Rodecaster Pro? I was asking. Do you think like did it like really did the Rodecaster Pro transform your audio processing workflow, or like because what we're thinking about is how to automatize everything and
Mhm.
make that system where you don't spend too much time on things. You
Yeah.
really think that the Rodecaster Pro has helped that much in making your life a whole lot easier when it comes to be putting out content or podcasts and high quality audio things? What do you think?
Words cannot describe like how I feel about the Rodecaster. And honestly, it started really simply. So I started trying to produce podcasts for other people in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, it was a lot of like, here are mics running into mixers, running into like, I was piecing together, it goes into the mixer goes into a recorder or a computer, and to monitor it, now it goes into a headphone amp to put monitor outs for everyone. It's like you had this huge mess just to record like a little podcast for somebody. And I had to make those kinds of setups several times for different schools, different people,
Mm-hmm.
and even myself when I started podcasting. And then the Rodecaster came out, and it was like, here's all of that in one thing. Plus, it's got like the sound effects. Plus, it's a
Right.
USB interface. It was just like, oh my god, this is so much better. And my Rodecaster is on all day, basically every day. I use it for my recordings. I use it for all my streams. I used it for all my classes. Bringing in different sources. The sound effects pads are really fun for goofy sounds, but you can load in pre-recorded interview audio. You can really use
Awesome.
them as powerful tools. Um, and Rode just keeps updating it. They just keep pushing out firmware updates that give it more functionality because now it was released for the podcast community, and then it was adopted by the streaming community, and Rode was smart enough to embrace that and go, I sound like I'm a Rode salesman, but I'm not. They were smart enough to embrace that and go like, hey, let's just keep making this even better for streaming then, and they keep adding in more functionality for that. And it's like, I don't know, it's not something that everybody needs. Like, you don't need a 4-channel $600 mixer, but if you have that workflow, oh my gosh, it can be an absolute game changer for
It's
sure.
worth the investment, you will say. Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that's
Oh,
nice.
100%.
Nice to know. But one thing that, because I don't have a Rodecaster Pro, I'm using a cloud lifter with my
Mhm.
microphone right now to have the setup. I have a different mixer, but not a Rodecaster Pro. So it is, good to mention that you can get, like you said, very professional audio without having to get that. But if you want to
Mhm.
automatize your process, the Rodecaster helps in that a whole lot. If you're really
Yeah.
going to be releasing a whole lot of podcast or audio related content, that will help out processing the audio for you already, where you don't have to go into Adobe Audition or do any
Yep.
post processing work, which can be time
Yep. Yep.
consuming, like if you've ever done
Yeah.
anything
And
like that.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's I mean it's amazing. And sometimes you'll still need to clean stuff up, but I mean the ability to do multi-track recording where you can get files for every track independently. So, that's amazing. Just using it as a backup recorder is cool. So even like, you're doing a live stream, but the Rodecaster could also be recording. You can take that
Right.
super high quality audio, put it out as a podcast, but your stream was still doing its own thing over here. Like, you're doing an interview with someone and your computer's recording, but you want to make sure you don't lose it. So you record in the road. Like, it's a good safety backup device as well. Um, it's just a great tool for, at least for my workflow. It works out for me. I don't want to say that like everybody needs this thing, because you could get it and be like, this doesn't fit my workflow at all. Who cares?
Right.
But for
Right.
me, it was a great tool.
Well, nice, nice, nice. Well, Tom, we've gotten to the end of our live stream. Before we let you go, what's next for Tom? What's next?
Um, Actually, YouTube channel is doing great. Uh, I just want to stay the course as far as that goes. And I did, speaking of courses, release my first course this month, which is all about starting your own podcast. So I'll plug that. That's the Podcaster Playbook. You can go to podcasterplaybook.com. And that's, if you got an idea for a show, but you don't know where to begin as far as actually producing it and get it out there, that'll walk you through the whole process step by step to build your workflow, get your episode out there. That's been really different. Like, that's a totally different kind of teaching. And that's been really fun. And the response has been really good. So now I'm thinking of like, okay, what are some other ways I could check out, the world of online courses and stuff?
Nice, nice. So a lot of folks will want to connect with you after this
Mhm.
video. You want to let them know where are the best places for them to connect with Tom Buck so they can follow you and
Sure.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, youtube.com/Tom Buck is the big one. That's where everything is, and that links to everything else, of course. But Instagram is there. That's when I don't know what I'm doing on Instagram, but it's there. You can go to So Darn Tom on Instagram, and also So Darn Tom on Twitter. Um, and Twitter, I finally learned it like a year ago after Heather like had to teach me. Twitter is such a fun place to just have continuous conversations with people and connect with people that are sometimes otherwise hard to reach. So yeah, and there's all of those have email contacts if you need to like be more professional. But I'm reachable in 1,000 different ways. Feel free anytime to reach out.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, Tom, we want to thank you for taking the time to teach us today on how to go full time as a content creator, the things to consider, and the reality about it, surrounding and sharing your story with us. That was really, really, really nice. And we want to see you back again here just to check in with you and see how was the progress, how things going for you. We'll be very excited here at the Content Creators University. Thanks again. I want you to stay backstage, all right, where we close
Sure.
this
Thanks
out
for
with
having me
our
too.
students. Of
Yeah.
course. Of course. For those of you who joined in live, well, thank you for joining in. This is the Content Creators University. Our motto here is create, impact, innovate. This is every single week here on the platform. So go ahead and subscribe, share this video. It was really, really awesome. And if you like it, go ahead and smack the like button at the bottom there. And of course, we'll see you next time for another video. You be safe, like we always say. Shalom. Bye-bye, folks.